Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Computer Club's February meeting. We're here with Larry Fortna for a presentation, and Bob is here running the board, and my name is Phil Sorrentino. I'm the Computer Club secretary. Tonight we're going to see a side of drone technology you might not have thought about. Computer-created automated drone flights. You might think of it as mission planning for drones. If you've ever tried to fly a drone, you know it's not an easy task unless you're under 18. Drone technology has come a long way since we had our last drone meeting. That was February 2016, 5 years ago. After that meeting, I went out and bought a small drone and found out how difficult it was to fly it. Still sitting on my dresser. So we'll get to the speaker in a minute, but just let me say a couple of comments. As you know, our monthly meetings are held on the second Wednesday of the month, 7 p.m. Typically, they're from 7 to 8. Last month, we had with all the computer scams going on, we had a timely presentation on computer security. And next month, the subject will be technologies that make smartphones smart. So do tune in. Also, membership renewals for 2021 can be done remotely from your own computer. Just go to our website. That's sccomputerclub.org. Select membership and then scroll down to the bottom where you'll see renew membership. For more details, you can look at page 14 in the journal. For those of you in Sun City Center, the lab is currently open 12:30 to 4:30 every day except Sunday. Social distancing and masks are required. This month, there are no classes scheduled for February. We expect classes to resume in the near future. During the presentation, please submit your questions as you think of them real time using the chat feature. So now for tonight's presentation. Drones can do some great things in the hands of skilled operators. Safety is, of course, always a paramount issue. A computer and the right software can be used to create and automated missions for the drone to fly, can be done accurately and safely. Larry Fortna has that software and a drone that he flies in this automated fashion to do some very interesting things. So here's Larry to talk about autonomous flight. Larry, it's all yours.
Good evening. My name is Larry Fortna. I'm from Leesburg, Florida. And so I'm going to be showing you the drone that I'm using, which is a DJI drone called the Mavic Mini. And this is what it looks like. It fits in the palm of your hand pretty much. You can actually launch it off of your hand and catch it, land it onto the palm of your hand. It has a gimbal camera in here that takes 2.7K video. And it weighs 249 grams, which is 1 gram less than is required to have to register your drone. And so with that introduction, I'm going to switch over to my screen here and bring up my presentation under Keynote. And I've given this presentation before, and it took about 2 hours, and I understand we have about 45 minutes to do this. So I'm going to skip around some of the parts and not talk about them, but I will show the slides, so you could come back later and look at those, and you could email me with questions. But anyhow, we're talking about autonomous flight using the DJI series of drones. This one, like I said, is the Mavic Mini 1. There's a Mavic Mini 2. And they all start at about $400 and go up. So this is an entry-level drone. And so I like to combine my hobbies, and I think most of you here who are on this channel you're obviously computer folks that are interested in computers. And I also have an interest in computers. I'm a president of a computer club here in my area, and I belong to another club just down the street. So, but I also have an interest in photography. And at one time, I used to fly radio control airplanes. So I think what I've got to show you here could be of interest to you if any of these subjects are of interest to you. Obviously, if you're going to fly a drone, you should stay below 400 feet in the US, not fly over people like in a stadium and things like that. And there is a license required for commercial use. And there are a lot of Karens out there. There are folks that don't like drones. So you need to know your rights before you go out to be prepared to handle somebody coming up to you and trying to tell you cannot fly wherever it is you're at. Again, the Mavic Mini is 249 grams. That's 1 gram under the limit for having registration. And you would require a Part 107 license to do commercial use. There are entry-level drones. One that I started out with is called the Tello for $99. The one that I have, I just showed you, is $399. And if you get the Fly More package, that's an extra $100, and that gives you 3 batteries, actually 2 extra batteries, a charger, some prop protection, some things like that. And you can also get coverage in case you crash your drone. You don't have to pay for the full price to get it repaired. So the Fly More package has these things. This is what the controller looks like. It connects your phone or a tablet. So it has a holder for your drone or for your phone. And it has 2 sticks on it that control the flight. And the one on the right, when it moves forward, the drone moves forward if it's going away from you. And you pull it back or the stick backwards and it comes backwards. If you go to the right, it goes to the right. You go to the left, it goes to the left. And then the stick over here on the left side controls the counterclockwise or clockwise rotation and the up and down height. And then it has 2 buttons. A button on the left side above the left joystick is the return to home button. If you get into trouble, you can press that button and your drone will fly back and land where it took off. And the button on the right is the power button. And they work off of 2.4 and 5 gigahertz frequencies. They say that you can go up to a couple of miles, but you're supposed to stay in line of sight. So I don't know how you could do that and stay legal. The Mavic Mini 2 can go up to 4 miles. And as Phil mentioned, the flying a drone manually is a whole different experience, because if you fly the drone away from you, the sticks work one way, but when you turn it around to come back to you, pushing the stick to the right makes your drone go to the left. So that takes a little bit of experience getting used to flying it manually. And these are the specs of the Mavic Mini 1. I'm not going to talk about the DJI Fly app. The wind restrictions are about 20 miles per hour. That's what they recommend. And I'm not going to talk about the DJI flight modes because this is part of the DJI Fly app. And one of the advantages of the Mavic Mini is that it's fairly quiet. So it means it attracts less attention from those Karens of the world. And because it is small size, it makes it harder to see, which can be a disadvantage as well if you're trying to watch it. But you'll be able to see where your drone is on the screen. And so the main purpose of this presentation is to talk about autonomous flight. And this is where you can actually have your software prepare a flight, and then you go out to where it is you want to fly, press a button, and the drone will fly the flight for you. So again, I'm not going to talk about the DJI Fly app. I'm not going to talk about Litchi or any of the modes for DJI. I am going to talk about Dronelink. And I'm not even going to take the time to explain the difference. Litchi will never be able to do what Dronelink does simply because it executes the commands in the drone itself, whereas Dronelink executes the command from your smartphone or tablet and sends those as if they were joystick commands directly to the drone, who executes them. So again, waypoints are not implemented in Litchi, and they are in Dronelink, and they have been since day one. And Dronelink works on all of the DJI devices, all drones rather. And they recently had put out the software development kit for the Mavic Mini, which was the entry-level drone, and that meant that tons of people started using Dronelink, because in the past it had only been for the higher priced drones. And originally they started out at $20, and I got in on the bottom tier of pricing, and then later they raised the prices all the way up from two different packages, one for $40 and one for $80. And they gave those of us that started early the higher level for free. This is another app we're not going to talk about, but if you're a professional photographer, you would be interested in looking into HDR PANO 3D. Again, pros and cons between Litchi and Dronelink. I'm not going to talk about Litchi, but Dronelink does have a richer and more powerful command set. It does need a higher end device and more processing power, and it does require a bit of time to learn how to use it. It's extremely capable, but the entire software development kit is available to you, and that may require you to do a little more learning by watching some tutorial videos, and there are a lot of those to watch that'll teach you everything you need to know. Both apps are supported, iOS and Android devices. And as far as the feature sets, Dronelink allows you to do waypoints. That's its big selling point. It's been able to do that since day one. Litchi still cannot do it as of today, at least not for the Mavic Mini. Dronelink has 16 on-the-fly modes, which include those you see on the screen: 3D, 360 photo, 360 photos, cardinal photos, a circle, a droning. A droning is where the drone faces you with the camera, and then it flies backwards and upwards as it takes a video of you. There's a facade mode that allows you to go up the side of tall buildings and take video that way. There is a map function that allows you to do ortho, I can't even pronounce it, so a type of mapping, let's just put it that way. And paths, and we're going to talk about paths, and spiral trucking shots. And 3 new modes which were added recently is the follow me, focus, and orbit modes, which require a cellular device. And I use a Mavic. I use an iPad Mini. That's the version 5, 5th generation, and I had to get the one with the cellular version, even though you don't need a cellular SIM card. You need the hardware to do the follow me, focus, and orbit modes, because it has the GPS built into the smartphone or the tablet in this case. So those 3 modes require GPS. If you don't require GPS, you don't need it. If you're not going to do those follow me, focus, and orbit modes, you can do everything else. So we do all of our planning at home on our computer with DroneLink. And we have a web browser like Chrome or whatever your favorite web browser is. It will support it, and you will create all of your flight information on your computer. And you'll be able to preview everything about your flight, including the flight times, the distances, what your camera's doing, the altitudes that you're at throughout. And then you can also preview it in Google Earth to see the flight in 3 dimensions. So you will know before you leave exactly what your drone is going to do. You can also share your missions once you have done those. You can make them public or private. You can share them with the world, or the world can share theirs with you. If you see a mission that somebody else has created and you want to understand how they did it, you can download one of their missions and check out exactly how it was put together. So this is quite helpful for folks that are wanting to learn. You can get help from someone, and they do have an extensive forum for you to get your questions answered. Facebook has some groups that are very good for DroneLink users, and you can ask your questions there, and you can get a lot of tips from people who have already been using it, and you can also get access to a ton of tutorial videos that people will post. DroneLink has an extensive support function. They have a forum. You can get all kinds of help versus Litchi, which has none other than one Facebook group. So the support forum allows the users to submit feature requests, and they have a product roadmap that shows what's been implemented already and what is being worked on. And I'll show you a photo of that in a moment. And there are beta versions available via Test Flight app. And so if you want to test the latest features that they are working on, you can do that in an app called Test Flight. And they just released yesterday version 2.10.0, which is now available in iOS and Android, which came out of beta. And I just flew that today, and it worked very well. This is a screenshot from the product roadmap, and on the right-hand side, there's a column that says done, and you can see all of the things that they have implemented so far, such as orbit mode, focus, and follow modes, and custom modes, and the like. And all these categories on the left are things that you can, people have submitted some requests for things, as well as just things they're working on. The other cool thing about DroneLink is that it integrates well with AIRDATA.com to upload your log files to that website, and you don't have to do anything. As soon as you finish your flight, the log files will be uploaded to airdata.log, and you can go in there and see everything about your mission that you just flew. And you can actually, once you've seen that, you can create what they call a KML file, and you can bring that into Google Earth, and you can compare it to the mission that you planned and see if there are any deviations between what you actually flew with the wind conditions and what you created in the browser. Hello. Stop it. I have a timer going off here. So the FAA controls the airspace that you fly in. And if you want to stay out of hot water, I recommend you watch this YouTube video. There's a link here in the bottom. Because all of your flight information is logged, and the FAA can get a hold of that. And one person who recently got fined $184,000 for violating many aspects that the FAA says you should not do. So if you're going to fly your drone, you need to understand where you can fly it and what you can do with it. And it just so happens I am located in a restricted area. I am within 5 miles of an airport. And theoretically, I'm supposed to get FAA authorization every time I fly. But because most of the flights that I do are at about 60 feet in altitude, I don't think anyone is going to bother me. And Dronelink does not ask you to get authorization, whereas DJI Fly does. Once you have gotten your video made with your drone, your video is stored on an SD card in the drone, and you can pop that SD card out and put it into an SD card reader on your computer, and then bring it into some sort of software for doing post-production editing. And I'm a Mac user, so I use Camtasia Studio for post-production, but there are many, many other computer programs that can be used to do that. You can join Facebook groups to stay up to date, and you can watch hundreds of YouTube tutorials to help learn how to use Dronelink. And you can follow me on YouTube under my name, Flash Solutions. And there's a link here to my YouTube channel. There is also a link to a 3-hour virtual technology conference I gave for APCUG. And that will be available for you to look at if you want. And so with that, I'm going to get out of my presentation and go in and give you a demonstration of Dronelink. And this is the website, dronelink.com, where you could go to purchase Dronelink. And again, the pricing on Dronelink is $20 for an entry-level hobbyist package. And for a business package, it's $40. And then if you want to get into really serious stuff where you're doing terrain mapping, that goes for $80. And so here's a little description of what they tell you what you can do with it. You can use Dronelink for cinematography, and you can use it on your preferred hardware. So it supports Android devices, iOS devices, tablets, and the like. And here's a link where you can go to know what to expect before you fly. But I'm going to actually show you in real time what that looks like. And again, you can automate everything, not just the flight path. It's built by drone pilots for drone pilots. Jim McAndrews is the developer of this software, and he is very knowledgeable. And you can rest assured that even using his software, you will be covered by DJI under warranty because he works closely with DJI. And that's that for that. Now I'm going to take you over to the web app. You can't get to this unless you have paid for the subscription. But once you have paid for it and you have an account, you can log into it. And this is what the interface looks like when you first get into it. And Dronelink is made up of repositories, and I have several repositories that I have created. One that I call Shops of Lake Village, one that's called Testing, one that's called Publics, one that's called Waksberg. My first repository lists another person that I have on here, PANO, Lone Oak Cemetery, Ski Beach, and on and on and on. Each one of these repositories can hold multiple missions. And the mission that I fly every day, I used to call it the Publix mission, but I've recently expanded that to include the shops around the Publix shopping center. And so here in the middle of my screen is the Publix shopping center, Publix grocery store. It's being torn down and rebuilt from ground up, and it's in a little small mall shopping center. So if I go click on this particular repository, I have a couple of different missions that I have created, and I'll start with the mapping test just to give you a quick idea. This is a mapping which allows you to create a series of photos as it flies over an area that you define. And if I look at the map, and let's go back. Let's go back, and I will do a mission preview to show you what that looks like. And basically, this is, I'm going to start out from where number 2 is on here, and I'm going to fly over to number 1, and then I'm going to start taking photos. And you'll see all of these dots that are located in here. Those are when I'm going to take a photo. And it's going to take 250 photos as it completes the entire mapping of that area. And then you'll stitch them all together to create a orthomatic map, which I can't pronounce properly. If we go down here, we can see what is going on. We see what the camera is doing and the different photo images that it is taking. So if I was to preview this particular mission, I would have a window over here that would show me what the drone is doing. And you can see in the center here that my drone is starting out flying up to a particular altitude. I'm going to speed it up here 4 times. So you see the drone being represented right here as a simulated drone. And it's going to capture, I guess, 130 photos. I thought it was 150, but it's 130. And so when I start that mission out, it's going to fly along here, and then you can't see it, but there's a little red dot out here showing what the camera is looking at. If I just go ahead and advance the timeline up here a little bit, we see that the drone is making a turn, and we see over in this right-hand window what the drone is seeing, because it's set the gimbal 90 degrees down. It's taking a shot straight down, and every time you see one of those little dots, it's taking a photo. And those photos are stored on your SD card, and then you can bring them back and stitch those together to create a map and put geofencing in it and all kinds of fancy stuff. But this is not the mission that I fly every day. This is just one of the, I wanted to see what mapping does, so I made a test flight with it. But generally, what I'm doing almost on a daily basis, and I have done over 125 flights over Publix. And this is the current mission that I have set up. And this is a rather extensive mission because I've developed this over time. And I do change it around almost on a daily basis, depending on where I believe work is going to be going on within Publix. And today, from being there yesterday, I suspected that they were going to be doing a lot of work over in this area today. And so I redid my plans somewhat so that I could get more coverage of this particular area. Generally speaking, when I go on site, there's a good possibility that somebody could be parked in the area where I intend to take off. And that has happened to me before. So a lot of times people will park in this parking space here. And so I have moved down 4 spaces away. And I usually drive my golf cart up into this area and park in the 3rd space and set up a little launch pad in this parking spot. And then I start my flight from there. But if I do get on site and I find somebody is there, it's not a big deal. I can go into my web browser on my iPad mini, and I can just move the start area and the landing area around. So all I do is I would grab this and I would move it to another area. Now, I'm not going to actually do that. I'm going to cancel this, but I could either create a new version or modify the current version. So it's very simple to drag and drop these items even once you get on site. So like I said, this is a kind of a completed example. I'm going to try to zoom out here a little bit and check my time here again. So I'm 30 minutes in. So I do some pre-flight commands. I do this on every flight. I set up my maximum altitude, what the distance is, the maximum distance, when I want a battery, low battery warning, and what my return to home altitude should be. And I just copy this out of my repository, and then I also have a video setup that, again, I do for every video that's going to be setting up the video. I start out with a start camera command, and then I go into a counterclockwise path that has 13 waypoints in it and 10 markers and 5 points of interest. And to show you what these are, where we see E here, this is a point of interest. And this particular point of interest is the east side of the shops, and the point of interest that I'm interested in is 18 feet off of the ground that I want to have my camera focus. And then, of course, the latitude and longitude is determined by where I dropped this particular point of interest. And so what would happen when I take off, I'm going to go off to a certain altitude, and then I'm going to turn my camera to this point, and then I'm going to start following this path that you see down here in the bottom. And I have a waypoint called Waypoint Bravo, which basically that is just a waypoint to tell me to start turning. And then I'm going to turn, I'm going to go up here, take another turn, and then I've got a marker. And what a marker allows you to do is to, in this case, I'm changing the gimbal pitch of my camera. And I'm going to change the heading of my drone, in this case, to be 90 degrees off of the path. So if the drone is flying forward, my camera it's actually going to turn my drone sideways so that the camera can point to 90 degrees off of my path so that it can take a video of the front of this store right here. And I'm going to take the drone to an altitude of 40 feet. Initially, I started out at 60 feet, but now I want to get a closer look. So I'm going to drop down to 40 feet. I'm going to set my speed to 5 miles per hour. And again, my drone heading is 90 degrees from the path. You could also change it to north, but I want it to be along a path. And I've set my gimbal pitch to minus 25 degrees so I can get a good view as I go around. So each one of these markers that you see allows you to change your parameters. So when I get to marker 3, I'm going to go up to a height of 60 feet. I'm going to slow the drone down to 2 miles per hour. And I'm going to change my drone to go face the left over in this area. I'm going to go 270 degrees off of the path. And so the reason I slowed the drone down to 2 miles an hour is to give the drone time to yaw to get into position rather than racing at, say, 10 miles an hour. The drone would not be facing the left until way up in this area somewhere. So I slowed the drone down. And then at marker number 4, I changed my speed up to 5 miles per hour. And then all of these little waypoints here are just, they're nothing really other than a way for me to alter the path. So this waypoint H up here was just a place where I wanted to make a turn. So I have a waypoint here called waypoint alpha. And this is where they're doing some new work. They're building some concrete structures along the side of Publix. And I know that the height that I want to have the camera focused should be around maybe 6 feet off of the ground. And so once the drone continues flying, it's going to stay focused on this point of interest all the way from where I initially set it until it reaches the next point of interest, which will be over here at marker number 5. And when I get to marker number 5, I'm going to focus my drone's point of interest up to the back of Publix, up into this area here. So that gives you a little bit of an idea of how all this works. Now, I can do a mission preview to see how the drone is going to be flown. It's going to tell me all sorts of things. It tells me, for instance, that the entire flight will be 8 minutes in duration, 8 and 4 seconds. And it will show me the timing all along this timeline. It shows me here that this is my clockwise path that I've created. And this is my path that I've created on my return home. This is my approach altitude. From when I complete that path to start a new path, there's another approach here. And my camera shows me that I've started a video camera capture right along here. And I can continue doing that for the duration. It's telling me I'm using 1 battery. And this shows me the altitude throughout the flight. So in the beginning, I would go to 60 feet. And you see this simulated drone, you see the little dot right here? that is showing you what the camera sees at 60 feet and at the gimbal angle that I've set up. As I get a little further along the path, you see the drone is here, and I'm now at 41 feet, and you can see that the camera angle is closer to the drone. And as we go a little further, we'll go back up to 60 feet at this point, and we'll stay at 60 feet until we get all the way out to this point, at which time we'll drop down to 50 feet, and then we'll go a little further along, we'll drop down to the 50 feet, and then we'll again come around the front of the Publix at 40 feet to get a closer inspection of the front of the activity going on there at Publix. And there are light poles in the parking lot, and they are right about 40 feet. But I can see those in the map, so I know where to navigate around them. And what you're seeing in this big window over here is a preview map in 2 dimensions. And if I can get all of this other stuff out of my way so I can see it, there is a icon on over here that says export this path to Google Earth. And I will just save that out to my desktop. And once that's been saved, I can click on the on that file and open up Google Earth to see what everything looks like in 3 dimensions. Oh. So I can make sure I don't fly into the side of the building. This is quite helpful. So again, this shows me my path, and it also shows me the relative height.
Wow.
So you can see that I start out here, I go up to 60 feet, I go around over here, I make a circle, drop down to 40 feet, go around to here, go back up to 60 feet, complete a path around the back of Publix, go across the roof line, and then bring it around and drop down to 50 feet here. And when I get over to here, I'm going to turn around and come back at 40 feet. And you can see as you zoom in here that here is the light pole in the parking lot that I need to make sure that I fly around that. And so you've got a good visual inspection of what it is that your flight is going to do before you ever leave the house. So there's really no reason that you should have a problem because you're able to see everything about it.
No surprises.
So let's stop the mission preview. There is also a mission estimate button over here that will tell you how long your mission is, what its max speed is, its total distance, its altitude, its max altitude, and how many videos or photos that it is taking. And so real quickly, I'm going to go over here to Home Depot, which is, again, I live in this community right here. In this house right here, right by this lake. So it's very easy for me to take my golf cart and go down to Publix to make videos. But there's a Home Depot here, so I want to just real quickly I'm 40 minutes in. We'll try to do this quick. Let's get out of the publics, and I'm just going to go down to I'll create a new plan. I'm going to set it up over here at Home Depot. We'll just call this Home Depot. And once I've got the plan established, I'm going to create a new component. And in this case, I'm just going to create a path. And I'll drop a pin where I want the path to start. And it's going to complete 2 waypoints for me, A and B. This is A. And if I drag A over here and drag B over here, and I click a plus button here, I can create a new waypoint and have it go up here, and then I can should be a plus button there. Let's just create another waypoint here. Let's put D over here. Oops. Move C back up to this area. And we'll add another waypoint E. And maybe we'll bring it down to here. And then we'll add another waypoint F to come back to where we started. And maybe at that point, I might want to have it land at that point. So if I want to see how that mission looks just the way it is right at the moment, I go up to Mission Preview, and I can take a look at what it's going to do in real time in 2 dimensions. And then I can export that to Google Earth to see what it's doing there. And if I plan preview it at 4 times, you can see what the drone is doing. And we see that way out here, because I haven't changed my gimbal, the camera is facing a long ways away. So that little dot is way out here in the quite a ways away. So we're going to go up here, and then we're going to make a circle around, and then we're going to go up here. And again, all the time I'm looking straight ahead, so I haven't turned the camera gimbal down to look at the ground. This is a real quick demo of how you would set up a mission, and then of course you add to it and change all of these various points. You can add markers along the line. So I can add a new marker out here, for example, and have that do a maybe I want to do a drone heading, and I can select between linear, none, or curved. And then I can say I want that path to be 90 degrees off of the path. And then I can change the curve, how quickly it does that. So by using markers and waypoints, paths and destinations, you can create your mission right on your computer, go out on site with it, bring it up in the app, and fly it there. And I know we're getting 45 minutes, so I will open this, to your questions, but at the same time, I'm going to quickly bring up the video that I did today, just so that you can see what it looks like in real time, possibly. And
all that's cool. All that's cool. But meet me at the Publix.
This is with post-processing in place, so So I started a little bit into the video there so you can see this is where I first started was in that corner. And then they're putting new tile in the adjoining shops. So we're seeing the new tile. And what I want to take you to here now is I want to take you a little further into the video. Let's back up just a bit. Okay, so this is what I would see in the Dronelink app, and also what I hear. Turn that down. And we see here that my altitude is increasing. I'm going up to 30 feet here. My distance, I'm 3 feet away, so I'm still at the same spot. And I've risen to 60 feet in altitude, and then I'm going to turn the drone around. And I'm going to face this corner of the building. And you see up here in the right corner, I have my battery percentage. I have my number of satellites, GPS satellites of 14, my Wi-Fi signal strength, and all of that information is shown here, along with a map in the left corner that shows me where my drone is at any given time. And so this is what I see as I fly the drone. I'm actually, all I did was come up here and press the button to play. And when I did that, the drone takes off and it does everything that I told it to do in that mission. And as if you recall, or if you see in the map down here, you know, the drone is taking a 90-degree direction off of the path that I set up. So the drone is actually flying sideways at this point, and the camera is pointing towards the storefront. And of course, it rotates along the path as I go around here. I want to mention real quickly that on the bottom of the drone are two sensors that detect the height off of the ground. And it can be dangerous flying over water if you're flying low to the water, because those sensors will get confused by the ripples in the water. And I've seen too many people crash their drones into the water because of those sensors. This particular area right here is what I saw that I wanted to focus on today. I knew they were doing some cement work. They're adding some blocks over here. And so I changed the path just before I went on site to make that a point of interest. And so the drone is staying focused on the workers right here in this particular area until it gets up to about this area here, and then we'll change the point of interest to another section. And as you see this roof area here, during this flight, I fly over the roof. And you see, if we can stop this for just a moment and go back and go forward again a little bit. I want to show you that there's an air conditioning unit located in here that I typically fly over right there. Oh, stop. Well, anyhow, you get the idea. It's right back here somewhere. Try to get one more time, see if I can stop. Anyhow, I went on site, this one right here. I fly right across this. And when I got on site one day, there was a car parked in my parking spot. And so I took a previous mission that I had flown and said, oh, I'll just go back to an old mission and fly it from there, because I flew it from a different point. Not realizing that at that time, the walls were not up and the roof was not in place. And when I got to this area here, I told the drone to go down to 30 feet because I there was no roof, and I was taking photos, video of what was going on inside. And I forgot all about that. And when the drone got to this point and it told it, this Dronelink told it to go to 30 feet, those sensors kept me out of trouble. They saw the roof line and they bounced up. And as I kept going forward towards this air conditioning unit, they saw it and they rose above it. And then they came back down and stayed right across the top of this roof line and kept me from crashing my drone.
Larry?
So
Larry,
that really covers what I wanted to show you. I got it down to 51 minutes here. And I'm going to open it up to questions for you now. Let's see if we can turn that off. Okay.
Larry, I got a couple of questions for you.
And I got to turn my volume up so I can hear. All right.
Are the waypoints downloaded to the drone, or are they executed in the tablet?
They are executed in the tablet. That is the big difference between Dronelink and Litchi. Litchi, the commands are uploaded into the drone itself and executed within the drone. Because Dronelink executes the commands from your device, it's sending the joystick commands as if you did them yourself. And when you do a follow me mode, for example, the follow me mode uses the GPS of your controller and the GPS in the Dronelink in the drone, and it is able to interpolate the differences, and you can actually change the position of your drone while you're in a follow mode. So if I wanted to, I could get in my golf cart and say, have somebody drive my golf cart for me and take my drone up to 30, 40 feet. And as I drove around the parking lot, I could actually move with my joysticks, and I could make it go higher or lower, closer or further away, and it would still track me all the time. So if I drove around the mall area, the drone would follow my controller, and the GPS and my tablet and the GPS and the drone would resolve everything for me.
Fascinating.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Okay, if the drone goes behind a building and loses communications, will it complete the flight path, or will it really just go off and disappear on you?
It depends on what you've set up in your initial settings for it to do. You can have it hover in place. You can have it return to home. You can have it land. But if you go behind the building, it's not going to lose. It's not going to lose connection. You may see your video feed dropping out first. For example, I showed you where I live, and I tried to fly my drone over to Publix, and there's a lot of Wi-Fi in the area. And as I got about not even a third of the way there, the video feed started fading out on me. And I just hit the return to home button and had it turn around and come back home. Return to home will work anytime that you press the button. And you can pause your missions in flight and actually resume where you left off. I could pause the mission, fly around and take some different video, and then hit the play button, and it would go back to where it last found a waypoint, and it would resume from there and continue flying. One of the items that was in that mission planning was the maximum distance. And I did a video of a cemetery, and it takes up a square block or so of space. And the total distance of the drone turned out to be 4,600 feet. And I had only set 4,000 feet as max distance. And the 4,000 feet ended up being the furthest away from me that you could get before the drone was to turn around and come back to me. And the mission says, oh, you've said that's as far as I can go. And it turned around and started flying back home. So it's kind of almost difficult to screw up. If it gets out of range, it loses connections for any reason at all. You can tell it to return to home. If you don't have it set to return home in your mission, you've got that button on your controller. And I see people flying these drones out 2 and 3 miles an open area where there are no trees, there's no Wi-Fi. And they've flown it to the point where it's almost impossible to get it back on the amount of battery that's left. So I've never flown that far. I stay within visual line of sight like I'm supposed to. And I usually fly right around my own area here, even though I'm in a FAA restricted zone. I've never gone above 160 feet. I've done a circle video around the water tower you might see in the photos there. And that water tower is 220 feet high. I did a circle around it at 150 feet. And I'm not too worried about FAA coming after me, because if there is a plane flying at 150 feet, they're going to run into the water tower before they run into me.
Larry, you mentioned Wi-Fi. Is Wi-Fi interference? Is that because they're on the same frequency band?
You have 2.4 gigahertz and 5.8 gigahertz are your frequency bands. It will automatically switch between them unless you manually select one. You would have to do that in the DJI Fly app, but you could select one frequency in particular if you thought that was going to have less interference. Otherwise, it will automatically switch frequencies as it flies. And you do get a visual indication, as I showed you, of what your Wi-Fi signal strength is. So as far as how the drone sees it. So it does use Wi-Fi, but it's quite strong.
No.
What you're saying is you can see yourself starting to get into trouble if you start getting out too far, start losing your Wi-Fi. And you can see
Absolutely.
okay.
So when I did this cemetery flight, that was, I don't know what that was. That's a whole, it's not 1 block, it's probably 4 blocks square. It's a large area. I had somebody in the community who's a member of that particular cemetery, and he wanted some footage to include in his own video. And so we got permission to go into the cemetery and take a video. And so I did a perimeter shot going around the entire perimeter. And again, it was, the total distance was 4,600 feet. And I didn't know at the time that I had a 4,000 foot limit. And so when it got to 4,000 feet, it just says, you've told me you don't want to go any further than that, and we're coming home. And so again, you can preview all of that. Had I realized it at the time, I could have checked that, but I didn't think about it, didn't realize it. And those are things you learn as you play around with the software and make missions.
Well, it doesn't look like we've got any more questions. So.
Okay. Yeah, I wonder, have you had any unusual things flying over construction sites? You would think people doing the construction might be concerned about something flying over.
That is a good question. I've done 127 flights, I believe now, or more, maybe 129. And all of those flights, only twice have I seen a worker look up Usually I'm flying at 60 feet, and that drone is very quiet, and they're usually busy with whatever they're doing. And the one or two times that they did look up, it was just to kind of glance up, and then they didn't pay any attention to it. So my biggest concern is birds. We do get one day that I had gone out there were no birds in the area, and I was well into the flight, almost over to the top of the roof, when a big flock of blackbirds came out of nowhere. I mean, there was hundreds of them, and they were all around the drone. And I've got close-up video of the bird's eye right in front of me. There was nothing I could do about it. They came out of nowhere. So all I could do is continue flying. I've also seen a lot of the white ibises or whatever they are that fly in this area come fairly close. So they are my bigger concerns, is having a bird take me out. But as far as the workers, they rarely know that I'm in the area.
Well, Bob, you said there were no other questions?
No, it looks like we got no other questions. So.
Well, yeah, I found that fascinating. You know, that's a really sophisticated piece of software. I guess if you spend enough time with it, the Army might be interested in you for their drone program, or whoever does get good with it. So I just wanted to go ahead.
There are a lot of tutorial videos that people have made showing you how to use every aspect of DRONELink. In fact, the design of the software programmer, Jim McAllison, has created a whole series of tutorial videos, and his videos are extremely good. Eric Latherwerver is another gentleman who puts out a lot of tutorial videos. There's a website on Facebook for Advanced DRONELink that gets into more advanced functions and features. And because everything is written in JavaScript, if there's a feature there that doesn't exist, you can write your own. And it's open source. The software development kit is in the public domain, and it's very, very powerful. But it does take a bit of doing your homework to understand how to use it.
Bit of a learning curve, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, you know, while we were watching that, I was thinking that really is the eye in the sky. You know, what you would see in the novels. So I wanted to thank you very much for an interesting and fascinating talk on automated or autonomous flight. Hopefully, you've converted some people, and you may have new people into the hobby.
Well, if there are any viewers out there that watch this and they have questions, feel free to email me. I'm Larry Fortna, Fortna, @gmail.com. I'm always happy to talk to folks about my hobbies and help them along. I have a good friend of mine as a client for years. I talked him into buying a drone, and I did a mission over his house. He wants to do it commercially to inspect roofs. And so I found his home on Google Earth, and I did a mission taking a video of his roof, and I shared it with him. And he bought the same drone that I have, and he was at first just wanting to learn how to fly it manually, and finally he got up enough nerve to actually fly the mission I gave to him. And he said it made his butt pucker a little the first time he did it, but it worked out just fine. And so he's now a convert. So
Great. Okay, well, thank you again, Larry. Appreciate it.
all right.
Hey, and if you like what you saw tonight, please click the if you'd like to see some more, please click the subscribe button and the little bell right up on top. And good night, everybody. We will see you next month. Bye, everybody.
Yeah, don't forget, next month's meeting will be on smartphone technologies, and it'll be March 10th. Good night and stay safe.